What's up, everybody? Mike Hageth here. Welcome to Mike Spin, the debut episode. We're finally doing it after God knows how long. Super excited to be here. Now, I've never done anything like this before, so let's see how many jump cuts it takes me to get through this in a semi-cohesive manner. Also, don't mind the hair. It's awful. I'm due for a haircut. Look, it's awful. I get it. I know it. You know it. It's all good. But look at the shirt. The shirt's fantastic, right? So that makes up for it a little bit. Today, we're going to talk about New Jersey solo artist Josh Zimmer's debut full-length record. He goes by the name of Project Atlantic, the name of the album in question. Ghost Stories, released in 2019 independently. You just, to the best of my abilities and knowledge, you cannot get it on cassette, LP, or CD. So hopefully, we see something like that in the future. Because this is about the time where I would hold up the album proudly as a part of my collection and then set it aside, but I cannot do that because all I have are a bunch of MP3s. So let's get right on into it. Clocking in at 11 tracks and right around 37 minutes of runtime, Project Atlantic's new record, well, I've got some thoughts and you're about to hear them. Overall, I really don't think this is a bad album at all. Now, I should preface that by saying the reason I came across this album in the first place, I was looking through the old bucket list music reviews. They no longer do music reviews. And I was looking for records that were reviewed kind of in the mid-range, like 4s to 6s, stuff like that. Because I feel like a lot of reviewers sometimes just kind of get paid to be assholes. And so I always like kind of looking at those albums that are reviewed in a very mediocre way and going and taking a listen to them, because usually I find that they're not nearly as bad as everybody's trying to make them out to be. So the Ghost Stories album in question was scored on Bucket List Reviews at a 5 out of 10. They had some choice words for it. I thought, well, I'm going to go listen to it myself. It didn't exactly hook me right away, but the more listens I gave it, the more it started to come around. Overall, what I found is this is a really well-produced album. A really good choice of effects, just like the right amount of reverb, like it's not overdone. But it doesn't sound dry at all. It's a really, really tasteful amount of reverb all the way through. A lot of really good stylistic and production choices. It's very polished as a result of that. Taking the odd instruments in the background and, just the panning choices, the mixing, the EQ choices, and even just when to use reverb, when to bring in certain effects and that, all really, really masterfully done. You would not think that this is a debut effort from this guy just based on that alone. Quite a few earworms on this thing too. The songs Alice, Ghost, and Falling in Love Isn't Worth It come to mind. Overall, the record itself is just very light and airy. It's sort of an indie pop album with hints of rock, but it never really gets too crazy. I find that the record itself never really overstays its welcome either. It flows really well start to finish. Does have a couple low points, but as long as you're in the mood, you're going to get through this album no problem, and you'll probably find yourself coming back to it again. Those are the goods. There are some areas that I'd like to see improved on for the next release, and things that I wish maybe had been done a little bit differently on this one. So let's get into those. So some of the lyrics feel like just super derivative. You'll find the more I do these, I'm a guy who just absolutely loves emotion in music. I love music that's like recorded with a purpose, and I hate the stuff where it's like, a band or a guy goes into a studio and they just have 12 songs and they're just going to record an album just because it's the next thing to do. Say something with your music. And, there are a lot of tracks on this album that do, that really paint a nice picture, but there are some where the lyrics are just like kind of way too derivative. The first time you hear a song and you can kind of already picture the next line that the guy's about to sing. You just rhyming bed with head, or the lead single Time. We've got time passes, can't seem to grasp it, can't seem to make sense of it all. Okay, but I don't know. maybe another lyrical revision before you go. But I don't know. Overall, it's not terribly written by any means. But I do hope that with future releases, maybe a little bit more lyrical revision is in store. The song "Where We're Going" in the 9th spot and everything else in the 5th spot, they're just really short instrumentals. They're about 2 minutes of runtime a piece, and the only thing I find they add to the album is about 2 minutes of runtime a piece. Could have very easily, I think, done without them, and it would have been nicer. Sure, it would have bumped the overall LP down to 9 songs at 33 minutes, but that's still pretty respectable and a good runtime in its own right. And I just don't think that those songs are really earn their keep on the record, among some really, really strong music, especially because everything else follows the song Alice, which is really good, and then everything else, I don't know, just sort of feels like a bit of a letdown before you can get back into it. And then on the flip side of that, on the back half of the album, you've got the song Ghost in the 8th spot, which is just a fantastic song, followed by Where We're Going in the 9th spot. And it's just like, you take the energy and it just plummets for me. I feel like really those two songs, either do more with them or just shelf them, but they probably wouldn't make the cut if I were sitting in the producer's seat. But now mixing, overall, this album is very well mixed, very well produced. I love it. It's very tight, very crisp, very, very cool. The only thing I would say is the snare drum is kind of muffled throughout, and it doesn't have a lot of life or tone. And I feel like the snare, just being so low in the mix kind of does hold things back a little bit and makes it hard for you to just kind of fall into the beat and the groove and really just sort of get into the material from there. A really, really strongly mixed kick and snare and a little bit of hat or ride, just something to carry along underneath, can really, really just like lay the foundation for something that sucks people in. So in summary, here we go. Delicate indie pop sensibilities, Project Atlantic delivers. Hands down, it's a really, really well done album. It's a really strong debut too, like it's not like there's a discography that leads up to this. As far as I'm aware, this is a debut effort, and it's really, really well done. It flows really nicely start to finish. It does kind of take you on that ride. Like I said, a couple of speed bumps there where it feels like the energy builds, and then just kind of falls off with a song that maybe shouldn't have made the final cut. But overall, it does flow really well, and it makes for a really great active or passive listen. So whether you're in the mood to put this thing on and really just listen to every single note and every single lyric and really analyze it and get into it, or if you just want to chuck something nice on in the background, just kind of let it float on around and let you go about your day. Either way, I feel like this album delivers pretty well there. So it's not without its faults, but it's definitely so worth listening to. I really love this album. I've played it probably about 100 times, and it really grows on me each time. Every time I listen to it, it just sort of takes me to a nice warm place. It's light and airy and carefree, and it never really takes itself too seriously. And so for my first ever Mic Spin review, the Mycometer, I don't know, is that a thing? Let me know below. We're going to score this thing a solid 7.5 out of 10, and I'm going to toss all of his listening links right down there. Definitely go check this album out. I feel like there is a lot of good to it. Let me know. That's the best thing about music and art on its own, is just the fact that it can be relatively subjective. So that is the first ever episode of Mic Spin. Let me know below what you liked and what you didn't like about my little format here. I don't exactly have a green screen or anything yet, maybe in the future, if I win the lotto. Yeah, I've never really done anything like this before, so let me know what you like, what you didn't like. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I'm ripping off Anthony Fantano, and that's my cue to get the hell out of here. So until next time, eat fresh. Rip off Subway too. Why the hell not?